how 2K17 or not 2K17, I don't know. But I mean 2K18. 2K18, I feel like me personally, I feel like 2K18 and when it comes to the player builds, I personally think that the best player builds for each position is going to be like realistically how they would be in real life. Cuz as y'all know, this year there were a lot of playmakers that were obviously point guards. A lot of point guard playmakers that were like 6'7", 6'6", 6'5". And in the NBA, there's not really that many guards that are that tall. Now, I was thinking, and the reason I think this is because I think for each position, I think like a shooting guard should be 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", not 6'8", but 6'6", 6'7", 6'5". Point guard should be 6'3", 6'4", and under. Small forward 6'7" to 6'9", I guess. And then maybe 6'10". A power forward. Now this is going by 2K height, which is why I'm going to go up to 7'3". A power forward 6'10" to 7 foot. And then a center 7 foot to 7'3". Now the reason I think that the best positions are going to be like real life height, going by real life height, real life weight or somewhat similar, is because of the eLEAGUE. Now, for the eLEAGUE, I think that especially because now the eLEAGUE is much different from these tournaments that 2K's had for the past 2 years, because the eLEAGUE is going to be like a real type thing that people are actually going to get paid for, and playing 2K is going to be their job. Now, the reason I think this is going to be the best is because the tournaments were just for any 2K player. Like, it was hosted by 2K. The eLEAGUE, I guess it's still by 2K, but, it's still, like, runs by, or is ran by, I'm pretty sure it's ran by esports, or, whatever you want to call it. And the reason, like I said, I think next year they're going to try to make the game a lot more realistic when it comes to 2K, because the eLEAGUE, in order for it to be as fair as possible and, not as many glitches or anything like that, 2K is really going to have to work on the type of players they have, because think about it. If you have, I don't know, it's just not realistic to have 6-7 point guards or 6, what's it called? Like 6, never mind. I don't know. I can't think right now, but I think you get the point, because they're going to try to make the game as real as possible, I think, because it's an eLEAGUE, it's a professional league, and like I said, they want it to be as fair as possible. Like, if you take other games like Call of Duty, there's really no way to measure Call of Duty how you measure 2K, because it's two different things, because 2K, I mean, they're both team games, of course, but 2K is much deeper in detail, because you have every archetype, every position, every, how you're going to make your player, the height, the weight, everything like that. Call of Duty is very different, because you just pick your class, and then you pick your perks, all that, and that's the end of it. Now, for COD, you don't have to pick your guy's height, weight. That's the difference between 2K, which is why they're going to be, I feel like they're going to work really hard to make the system for your players a lot different. I feel like, and honestly, to be honest with you, I don't think that they're going to be archetypes next year. Now, the reason I say this, I know they said that the archetype system was going to be way deeper, but I don't think it's going to be like this year. I don't think it's going to be anywhere near this year. Of course, there's still going to be archetypes, but I was thinking, and I feel like they're going to have the archetypes from 2K16. Now, the reason I say that is because the archetypes that we have in 2K really aren't realistic like real life. Like, if you take someone like Kyrie Irving, he can be considered as a playmaker, a shot creator, a little bit of both. Steph Curry can be considered as a shot creator because he can shoot off the dribble, a sharpshooter because he has a limitless Hall of Fame, and then a playmaker because, he can dribble, he can break ankles, stuff like that. And 2K really didn't implement that into the game this year, because They just thought of just archetypes. So I think that is going to play a big role next year. And the reason I think they're going to use the 2K16 is also because of the eLEAGUE. Because if they have archetypes like a sharpshooter in the eLEAGUE, it's not going to be realistic because, you know, you can just have the sharpshooter shooting half courts. And it really doesn't give any depth in the game. Now, if you have something like last year, I remember mine, which I guess you can say this is the same thing, but mine was a premier perimeter threat. Now, this means that was my shooting guards thing. He was basically a sharpshooter last year, but that's just one of the examples. Or let's take a two-way guard. A two-way guard is one of the best examples that I can give y'all when it comes to the different archetype system, because a two-way guard means you can play offense and defense very well. Now, this year, it was never like that. I guess you can say a playmaker was like that because they both had a good defense and a good offense, but I'm saying like a superstar on both sides. Like if you take someone like LeBron, he can play offense and defense very, very well. And you can't really do that in 2K17 because of the archetypes and all the caps and all the different things that, you know, are just implemented into the game compared to 2K16. It's just as simple as that, because whenever they put caps on the attributes, they're keeping you away from, or keeping your player away from being, you know, good at multiple things. They implement it into the game to where you're only good at one thing, unless you're a playmaker where you can do a little bit of everything. But I think that, I don't know, I never really liked the archetype system. It just didn't make sense to me, because in 2K16, it was much more like real life. Like, your player could be good at everything in the game, but you just had to work for it in career. And that's what I loved about 2K16. It was just so realistic. I think it was more realistic than 2K17 when it comes to the... Now, I'm not saying the gameplay, because I would take 2K16, MyPlayer, MyPlayer, and all the badges and stuff, and I take 2K17 gameplay, because 2K16 really showed a sense of realisticness because of the archetypes that they had. The archetypes were actually realistic. Like, I remember I saw crafty playmaker, premier perimeter threat, two-way guard, face-up center, rebounding, scoring specialist, or something like that. And that's the type of things I like, because you can get rebounds and score. You can do both. That's why I think that they should add to 2K16, because I just thought it was more realistic. Because if you have a crafty playmaker, then that means it's a playmaker, but, you know, it says it's a crafty playmaker, which means it can do a little bit more than just a regular playmaker. Or if you have a two-way guard, he has a pretty good offensive attributes, and he has some good defensive attributes. Now, this is the thing, though. I guess the thing that's unfair about this type of archetype system is that some were more OP than others. Because last year there were caps, but there weren't caps like there were this year. Nowhere near. Because I know that my friend Coolboy, or Caleb, he had an outside center, and his rebounding went up to 94. So, like, there were still caps on some things. Like, you couldn't have an inside center with a 94-3, but, like, since it was still a center, it can still, you know, grab rebounds. Which, that's what I thought was realistic, because if you think about it, a center that can shoot, which I know that's not real in the NBA, but if you make a center that can shoot, at the end of the day, it's still a center. So, like, it should still be able to grab rebounds. Just because it can shoot doesn't mean it should change the way it gets rebounds. Now, I know they do that just to balance out the game, but it's just not realistic, because if you think about it, I guess you can say if they were to make it like that, some archetypes would be more overpowered than other archetypes, but it doesn't really matter, because, you know, it's what you choose to make. And you should, based on what you make, that's what you should be good at. And I know some of the quote-unquote archetypes from 2K16, some of them you were only good at one thing. But then again, you could be a lockdown or whatever. I forgot what the defensive one was called, or some of the defensive ones. Now, you could be one of those, but then again, you can still score. Like, that was the difference. You just excel at defense. That's how I think the archetype should be. I don't think it should be like, oh yeah, you do good at this and everything you're bad at. I think it should be more like you excel beyond this. Like, you do very well at this, but everything else you do okay. Like, you do pretty good. That's how I think it should be, because at the end of the day, this year, I guess you can say this game was really more skill based, but like, still, badges, they played a bigger role than 2K16, but I don't think they played a big enough role, because me personally, I think that you should have to work for your badges in order to be good at the game. Now, I'm not saying, now this year, badges were just horrible. The reason I say that is because you had to waste your life on the game, you know, not see the sun for a few days just to get, you know, some like hustle rebounder Hall of Fame. Because last year, the reason I liked the badges last year is because you didn't have to grind again for the Hall of Fame badge. And the Hall of Fame badge just really like kills you inside because of how much of a grind it is for some of the badges. Like Dimer, some people say it's easy because they've gotten it multiple times, but me personally, I've never gotten Dimer Hall of Fame. I have it on gold, but on this player, my point forward, but I'm never gonna get it Hall of Fame. I never will, because it's like it's like 900 more assists, and it's 300 to get it. So three times more. And I don't think that people should be slaving themselves on the game just to be good on 2K. It's a video game, like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you're not going to be an eLEAGUE player or anything professional, you shouldn't have to spend, you know, hours and hours every day on the game just to get this one badge, Hall of Fame. Oh yeah, by the way, you got this one Hall of Fame? Yeah, 4 more to go. That's what I didn't really like about this year. You literally had to slave yourself to get good at the game. On 2K16, I guess you can say, wow, it was broken because you didn't need badges to be good. Well, yeah, you didn't need badges to be good, but you would still go into park and play just fine. Maybe not as good as some of the really good people, but you could still win games. And the reason I like that is because it was more of a video game. And when I say that, I mean, like, it was more fun. Like, to me in general, 2K16 was just more fun. And in that aspect, I think because of the badge system. Completely because of the badge system. And whenever I would play 2K16, I know for one of my players, I had like 20 or 30 gold badges. That's just because it was my main player for months and months and months. But like all my other players, they just had like 5 or 6 gold badges, and they still played just fine. And the reason I say it was more of just a video game is because you could just have fun with it. Like, that's what I liked about it so much, is that you could just have fun playing 2K16. You wouldn't have to go into career for hours and hours and be like, wait guys, I gotta go get this Hall of Fame and this and this and this. And I guess I'm kind of going against my point about how you should work for your badges. But when I mean like that is, I think you should have to work for your badges to be ultimately like the best at the game, get the badges. But you shouldn't have to slave for the badges. That's what I'm trying to say. And also, now this goes to my other point where I said that you shouldn't have to work for badges to be, you know, a GOAT. But now when I say that, I'm saying you shouldn't have to get badges to, you know, be good. And when I say that, I'm saying, oh, if I don't get badges, then I should be able to be the best. No, I'm just saying you should be good enough to where you can go into park and win a game. Now, I'm not saying go on a 100-game win streak. I'm just saying to where you can win a game and have fun without having to slave yourself in my career. Because honestly, my career this year was really boring. Like, it was just way more boring than 2K16. I don't know why, but 2K16 just, for me, it had a different feeling. But yeah, I know this is a really long video of me just talking about, I guess not random things, but just about 2K18, 2K17, really all 3 years. This is just my thoughts. This is also, I know this all stemmed from me talking about the best archetype next year, but, you know, it's whatever. I'm just, you know, pouring it all out about, you know, how I think the game should be, me personally. And yeah, I don't know, this was just a talk video, I guess you can say, but yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Sorry if y'all can hear my controller in the background, because this is live, and I'm just dribbling around. So sorry if y'all can hear that, but yeah, that's pretty much it. This is AnklebullyChris.